Ready for a start for round 12 of the GT Asia Series from Shanghai International Circuit. Similar car on the front row for the second 40-minute race, and that's the number 37 BBT Ferrari 458 of Davide Rizzo, of course sharing with Anthony Liu, who started from pole in race 1, alongside Kane Young in the NB team. Number 9, Aston Martin Vantage, coming to a start, nicely controlled by Rizzo. Of course, the winner of the first two rounds of the championship at South Korea back in May. But it's Zhang who's taken the lead into turn 1. Nicely done, as Frank Yu has to get out of the gas and allow Jeffrey Lee in the Absolute Racing Audi to take position number 4 away. But Vanellay's been forced wide in the Bentley Continental. Brand new Yokohama slicks on for this race. They used the one set for the full 40-minute race, first time out. We were talking yesterday about them gaining data on the Yokohama tyre. The first event worldwide for the big Bentley Continental GT3, which debuted about 12 months ago on the Yokohama tyre. So position number 3 for Vanellay, who finished second with Jean-Carl Vernet, of course the former Le Mans winner in the GTM class in a Matt Porsche. A bit further back in the field, the GTM class is trying to sort itself through. Kane Young still leading, second place. We have, of course, Davide Rizzo, who was victorious here yesterday with teammate Anthony Liu. It was a nice result by the local team in the AF Corsa prepared Ferrari 458 for Spirit of Race, as Vanellay takes a look on the run out of turn 13 down the inside. It's a drag race. We saw quite convincingly yesterday the Ferrari had the legs over the twin-turbo 4-litre V8 Bentley Continental, and again it looks that way. But what's going to happen under brakes? Is there going to be a change of position? It looks like Vanellay's going to hold it, but no. Rizzo's kept the outside on the way out of turn 13 on the run down to 14. What's he going to do? Take the position back. They made contact. That's contact. A spin down the pit lane. Fortunately, it hasn't hit anything, but there appears to be right rear damage on Davide Rizzo's car. That's a dramatic turn of events. Yes, something's broken in the rear of that car, so that is him eliminated. We haven't seen whether the Bentley has stopped yet, but for the championship contenders, winners here yesterday, put them right back in to the title fight. There's only a couple of points in it. That is dramatic for them. No, the Bentley's managed to continue, but that's opened the door for Kane Young to get away in the NB Team Aston. And this would be a brilliant result for a local driver. They've been very quick all year, been consistent on the podium alongside Max Weiser, are yet to take a victory in this championship. As we're looking at the replay here, it looks like Vanellay was holding ground. Perhaps Davide Rizzo may have moved across to take a better line through turn number 16 and has just made contact, and that's been enough to break the right rear suspension on the BBT Ferrari, and that's a sad end for them, as the number 22 Taiwan Top Speed Racing Ferrari 458 Challenge has had a drama through turn number 1. There's KS Wang behind the wheel. You noticed that car yesterday with Yoko Mizo late in the race had a bit of a drama. So it's Kane Young and the car he shares with Italian Max Weiser leading this race. You can see Gilles Vanellay on his debut in the Bentley Continental. First time he's driven one. Experienced driver in both Porsches and Ferraris. Competes regularly in Europe, in European Le Mans and the French GT Championship. First time behind the wheel of the Yokohama shod Bentley Continental. He is holding position. Is a little bit further back. That is Mok Weng Sun, the two-time champion, holding out Chao Li in the Porsche, rather, as Jeffrey Lee looks like he's had an issue. He was running in position number 4 there earlier, and the car looks to be crawling up the the short straight between turns 15 and 16. No, he's got the car going again. That looks like it's back under full power. The number 7 J-Fly Absolute Racing Audi R8 LMS Ultra, as Chao Li puts pressure on Mok Weng Sun a little bit further back. Richard Wee, who won the 10th round of the championship at Sepang International Circuit, with Italian driver Alessandro Guidi alongside. This time round is another of the Clearwater favourites, Matt Griffin, who's run a number of times alongside Mok Weng Sun, including events like the Bathurst 12 Hour and the Sepang 12 Hour. The Irishman drafted in to join the team. Of course, Richard Wee's usual driver is a New Zealander, Craig Baird, who's in Australia competing at the illustrious Bathurst 1000 this weekend. So he was unable to take his place. They've drafted Griffin in. And so far the combination's been very strong. And the pace that Richard Wee has shown has been very impressive. In fact, he qualified in position 11 for this race, which was a nice job. And he continues to improve. Of course, winner last time round, as we see a battle between Ken Urata and the number 17 Absolute Racing Audi R8. That is expected to be Jingsu's son behind the wheel, as again Mokweng's son Chao Li and Richard Wee come down to turn number 14, and there's almost contact. There's almost contact between the teammates. I don't know that they actually touched, but a big diving move there by Richard Wee, which I think probably caught everybody by surprise. So he's taken 2 positions away there, and unfortunately for his title contending teammate Mokweng's son, that's dropped him back 2 positions. Now that'll be a little bit of frustration, but look at the car immediately behind them. That's the 88 GTM class Ferrari 458 Challenge of Thomas Fjordbach. Now, Fjordbach came into this round as the GTM class leader, and he's right on the tail of this pack inside the top 10 in a GTM class car, which is traditionally anywhere from 3 to 6 seconds a lap slower. Taking a look at the restart, you can see the start being controlled there by Davide Rizzo. Kane Young pulls alongside and outdrives the 458 into turn 1, moves across to take the line. You can see that Jeffrey Lee just took position away from Frank Yu and was forced wide by Vanillay on the exit of turn number 3. A little bit of gravel hopping, that was Johnson Huang further back. And then major move in this race, contact between Davide Rizzo and Vanillay, and that has eliminated the number 37 BBT Ferrari with right rear suspension damage. Now, as we see at the front of the field, Vanillay has closed right in on the tail of Kane Young in that number 9 NB team, Aston Martin. This team has made their debut this year. Max Weiser, the Italian, sharing the driving duties. The pair of them are the reigning champions in the Blancpain Super Trofeo Asia Series, of course the one-make series for the Lamborghini. And in fact, Weiser is leading the championship again now for the 2014 season. We'll come to the final round of the championship, or the penultimate round of the championship rather, at Shanghai here in 7 days' time, as the points leader needing 1 more point to claim back-to-back championship rounds, or back-to-back championships rather, for the Blancpain Super Trofeo Series. But the driving that local driver Kane Young has done in that series has certainly improved his ability over the year to pump this gorgeous V12 Aston Martin Vantage around the circuit, and he's gotten better and better with every race he's done in the car, and certainly under pressure from Vanillay, and not succumbing to that pressure one little bit. He seems to lose a little bit of ground on some of the smaller corners, or the slower corners rather, but certainly on the longer straights he's able to open the big 6-litre V12 Aston engine up and pull away a little bit on that twin-turbo 4-litre V8 Bentley Continental. Coming through on the run now down to turn number 14, the long straight. In fact, that's the short straight between turns 10 and 11. Vanillay has another look, closes in again onto the tail of the Aston. And Kane has done a great job all year. Of course, they've been on the podium a number of times this year, including the first round when their compatriots Anthony Liu and Davide Rizzo won both rounds at... oh, hang on. This is a fairly dramatic turn for the GTM class. That's a dejected Thomas Fjordbach walking away from the number 88 Taiwan Top Speed Racing Ferrari 458 Challenge. Now that could be a championship sealing moment. He looks back at the car. Something has gone wrong with that car. Of course, he was inside the top 8 in this race outright in a car that is up to 4 seconds a lap slower than the outright GT3 class cars. So Fjordbach needed a strong run after victory again for Jackie Jung. Fjordbach came into this round as the championship points leader. Had a drama in the opening race. They finished strongly, crossed the line in position 2, was hauling Jackie Jung in by 4.5 seconds a lap. But a pit infringement. They crossed the pit exit line outside of the 75-second minimum that they had. So they crossed it before the 75-second mark. were penalised a 30-second stop go, as we see Jackie Young's Tiger Racing Audi R8 on screen, the GTM points leader as it stands right now. And his rival Fjordbach was penalised, dropped back down to position number 5 in the GTM class, and they needed a strong result here. He and car owner George Chu, who was second in the championship coming into this round. Jackie Young did hold the lead, heading to the September round of the September Sepang round rather, but a DNF in round 10 of the championship dropped him back down the order and behind the Taiwan Top Speed Racing Ferrari. Okay, up front, it's Kane Yang. He's doing a brilliant job. This would be a very, very welcome result, and I think the pit lane would be very happy to see the young Chinese driver, very popular amongst his peers, take a victory. They've been working at it all year. They're on the podium in Korea. They were on the podium with their first second place result at Autopolis in Japan during the second event of the season. They're on the podium again at the 4th round of the championship at Sepang. Again, very nearly won the race. In fact, there was only a second or so in it. Max Weiser finishing behind Kitasara and Mok Weng Sun, and then made the podium twice more in Sepang during the September round. During the September round. So we've had about 5 podiums so far this year, the team. Of course, at the second Sepang round, Max Weiser was joined by Lucas Guerrero, the Spaniard, after Kane Yang's business commitments forced him to miss the round. So there we have the debuting number 66 JRM Porsche of Chao Li, doing a very nice job. Dashen Zheng, Carrera Cup regular, was very quick in it during practice. It had a 50 kilo weight penalty by virtue of an irregular inlet restrictor. It was the wrong inlet restrictor. It's just paperwork. Somehow it got mixed up in the process of sending the car from Europe, from Porsche, and by virtue of not having the homologated restrictor, they were handed a 50 kilo penalty, which cost them about half a second or lap over the pace that they were showing here on Thursday. In fact, we're running inside the top 2 during practice, much to the surprise of Richard Lyons, because Dashen Zheng, not a regular in this series by any stretch. In fact, this is his debut. Nobody knew an awful lot about him, but he certainly had everybody talking by the close of the 3 30-minute practice sessions here on Thursday afternoon. But it's Kane Yang up front in that beautiful NB team Aston Martin, still holding position. About a second or so now on Gilles Vanelay, the Frenchman. Drives in the French GT Championship and also in the European Le Mans Series. Drives in both Porsches and Ferraris. This is his maiden event in the Bentley Continental, and he was all smiles yesterday after the opening race, although he admitted that Jean-Carl Vernet had used the best of the Yokohama rubber during the opening race. The team didn't have any great experience with that car on the Yokohama tyre, of course the control tyre for the GT Asia Series, as it has been for a couple of seasons. This battle a little bit further back. Richard Wee, as we saw him take that position away from Mok Weng Sun. He's still holding the front of this pack, and we noticed too that Jeffrey Lee had an issue early in this race, and he's worked his way back onto the tail of this group as we come around to start lap number 7. And it's Chao Li looking at the back of Richard Wee, Mok Weng Sun immediately behind, and it looks like Jeffrey Lee may get alongside him down through the turn 3 complex. So it's Wee, it's look, that looked like a little bit of contact there between Jeffrey Lee and Mok Weng Sun, side by side going through turn number 4. Will this continue? That's a big hit. That is a monster impact. Jeffrey Lee has hit the outside fence coming out of turn number 4. The windscreen wipers going on the car. The right front wheel has been torn off the number 7 J-Fly Racing Absolute Audi R8. Let's hope that Jeffrey Lee's okay. There appears to be a little bit of movement inside the car. That was a big hit. That has done an awful lot of damage to that car. If we just look at the replay, the 2 cars made a little bit of contact coming through turn 2. That put Mok into the gravel. He rejoined, came out immediately alongside of Jeffrey Lee. Seems to have given him plenty of racing room. Yeah, he's on the inside. But we just look at it, just perhaps Jeffrey Lee moved across to take his line, thinking that he had position. It doesn't look like Mok has moved. He's given him racing room. The two have made contact. And Mok Weng's son is considered a gentleman driver, but he's certainly a gentleman personality-wise too, the two-time champion, the winningest driver in this series, 19 race wins since his debut in 2010. And he'll be terribly disappointed to have made any contact. I mean, to look at the car, it was very minor contact, the two of them, when they hit. See the front of the Audi, there's the right front wheel sitting on the other side of the circuit, and Jeffrey Lee walking away. That is fantastic. There's been two monster hits into the Armco this weekend. Of course, Hiroshi Hamaguchi, the car that's just going through screen there now, the AII Restrada McLaren. It's the AII car rather than the Clearwater Racing Chrome and Dayglow Orange car, because Hamaguchi all but destroyed the car in a major impact coming out of turn 10 on Thursday afternoon. And a similar fate has fallen to Jeffrey Lee, who'll be very disappointed in that. Glad that he's managed to walk away from the car, as Johnson Huang in the GTM class Absolute Audi is called into pit lane. It's a little bit early perhaps. No, in fact the pit window may have opened. So he's made his compulsory stop. You see the BBT Ferrari that won yesterday sitting there, the Advan Yokohama slick tyre, the control tyre for this category, just being taken away. The officials starting to clean up the mess. You've got to remove that car from the circuit, but testament to the strength of these cars is an impact like that. The carbon safety cell of the McLaren MP412C, as we look at the replay one more time, that was just a racing incident. I'd put that down to with Jeffrey Lee making contact with Mok Weng's son, which pushed the Ferrari driver off. If you look at Weng, he hasn't moved at all. He's given room to Jeffrey Lee, and he'll be pretty shattered by that. He wouldn't want that to happen to anybody. Windscreen wiper still going. You can see how much of the front of the car has been removed in that impact. Hiroshi Hamaguchi hit the wall at 165 kilometres an hour. It tore the front completely out of the mighty Clearwater McLaren MP412C. There was a little bit of movement behind the wheel initially. In fact, I was the first person on the scene after the impact. I couldn't believe what I'd seen. But unaided, Hiroshi Hamaguchi was able to open the doors on the McLaren, the scissor doors, climb from the car and walk away. He was terribly, terribly distressed at having done so much damage to the car. His initial reaction was that he couldn't believe it. He wasn't sure that he wanted to continue, but the team, together with the support of pit lane and certainly the AII team, provided a second car prior to qualifying. All the other drivers signed off to allow them, Hiroshi and Rob Bell, to run the car, and they lined up on the grid for qualifying for the first of the two 10-minute sessions on Friday afternoon. But tragically for Rob Bell, he made contact with a GTM class car, one of the GT Cup, the China GT Cup cars, under braking down to turn number 6, I believe it was, and hit the other car and didn't destroy, but certainly damaged the right rear suspension, the left rear suspension on the second McLaren. The team fixed that car overnight. They were able to take their place on the grid yesterday, and in fact during the opening race finished from position 6. In this race, Hamaguchi and Bell have been forced to start rear of field, as we see the second of the AII Restrada cars, the number 93 car. That car this weekend is being driven by Zhou Xiu and Han Lin. They're regulars with that team out of Taiwan. They've got a selection of cars, BMWs, Mercedes and McLarens. They bought their spare McLaren, which they've handed to Bell and Hamaguchi. Rob Bell and Hiroshi finished 6th in race 1, forced to start rear of field in this race because they were unable to record a qualifying time. Hiroshi was unable to record that time. In fact, you can see the car top of screen there just coming onto the front straight. So the field is being controlled. They seem to have had an issue early. In fact, they're about 20 seconds behind the field looking at the timing monitor early in this race. So there's been a drama for them too, which is not ideal. As we said yesterday, they came into this round. The number 69 GTM class Porsche is coming very, very slowly down pit lane. Appears to have an issue. We saw it rolling across the back of screen when we were talking just earlier, watching the field come down the front straight. Look at that very forlorn Audi. That does not look great, and that would not make Jeffrey Lee happy. But the fact that he's walked away from that wreck that we see on screen means that the car's done its job. Whether or not we will see this particular car return to the circuit, who knows? But certainly the Audi factory have a great customer racing program worldwide, and no doubt the Absolute Racing team will return that car back to Germany to be either repaired or have the tub replaced, the shell replaced, and ready for the 2015 season. Whether we see it at Macau in November, that's a whole other situation. But anyway, we'll see what happens from there. Now, under safety car at this stage, the drivers aren't able to pit. So when eventually the safety car pulls off, it'll be interesting to see how many of these drivers dive into pit lane for their compulsory stop. Or at the halfway point of this race, certainly all of them can make their compulsory stop. Talk about Pro-Am with FIA GT style racing, and certainly the GT Asia series, where there's a mixture of professional drivers and amateur drivers. The pro drivers will want to do the most mileage they can, and the amateur drivers will want to pit fairly early. Now we're looking at a bit of a restart. Look at the start. Controlled by Davide Rizzo. The winner here yesterday with Anthony Liu, number 37 BBT Ferrari, but it was Kane Young in the car he shares with Max Wise, the MBT Aston Martin, that took the lead through turn one. A little bit of gravel hopping from the Absolute Audi, and then it was a dramatic impact between Gilles Vanelay and Davide Rizzo as they came through to negotiate turn 16, and that's broken the right rear suspension on the race winning from yesterday Ferrari. Then it was almost contact between the two Clearwater Racing Ferrari 458s, and a big move that also had an impact on, or has an impact on the championship, with the 88 GTM class, Thomas Fjordbach Ferrari stopping. Then the big one. See this contact now as Jeffrey Lee moves across on Mok Weng Sun and spears his car very hard into the wall on the exit of turn 4, and that's a tough move. And KS Wang sorry, that's the number 22. Yeah, it's KS Wang and Naoki Yokomizo. They're having ongoing dramas. We saw it stopped earlier in this race. We saw it struggling yesterday during the closing stages of the race. Yokomizo had a lot better run last time out at Sepang in the Ford GT of Samson Chan, running just off the tail of the top 5. But that hasn't happened this time around. They're still working to recover. We've lost about 4 laps now behind safety car as they're working to recover. The number 7 J-Fly Racing Audi R8. Still the number 22 Porsche. It looks to have power, just not an awful lot of it. That's not ideal for them. Now we're talking about championship points. We've seen the driver that was the GTM class points leader coming into this race, Thomas Fjordbach, stopped. He looks like he's had a mechanical issue. We saw the race winner yesterday, Davide Rizzo, a title contender in the GT3 class, retiring on the opening lap. Now, if we just have a quick review of the GT3 outright points coming into this race, Kitasawa and Mok Weng Sun had taken over the championship points lead from their Clearwater Racing teammates. 139 points. But equal on 137 points now are Rizzo and Liu and Hamaguchi and Bell. So there's only 2 points in it between the top 3 teams in this championship. Now Rizzo and Liu are out. The one thing that we haven't mentioned just yet is you can drop your 2 worst point scoring rounds from the 13 rounds of this championship, which also includes the Macau GT Cup race in 1 month's time, 14th to the 16th of November at Macau. It's a single 12-lap race, and only one of the drivers will be running. In Davide Rizzo's case, he will sit out. Anthony Liu will run. Mok Weng Sun will run the number 3 Ferrari 458. Frank Yu will run the number 97 Craft Bamboo Racing Aston Martin, and Hiroshi Hamaguchi would run, we would expect, the number 23 McLaren MP412C for Clearwater Racing. So it'll be those 4 drivers that will be battling for the title at Macau, because at this stage nobody has a clear advantage. In fact, after the race yesterday, round 11 of the championship, there were 4 drivers come into contention for this race and the subsequent race at Macau. on adjusted points where you drop your worst round. It's in fact Rizzo and Liu that lead the championship on 133. Soa and Mokweng Sun are second on 131. Then it is Frank Yu, who's had a number of dramas through this year, a number of little issues that have kept the number 97 Craft Bamboo Racing Aston Martin from the top step of the podium. He's on 124 points, only 9 points back on adjusted scores from the points leader. A race win's worth 18 points. This race is worth 18 points. Macau's race win for the series entrance in the GT Asia Series, because as we saw last year, Eduardo Mortara, the Audi DTM factory driver, is 5-time winner as he started the 2013 Macau GT Cup race, ended up taking his 6th win at Macau by winning last year in the Audi R8. He won the race outright, that's fine, but he wasn't in contention for GT Asia Series points. So the first GT Asia Series entrant that finishes in the Macau GT Cup will be considered the winner and score maximum points. So still a long way from game over. Last year the championship came down to the wire. Peter Lee in the ART Porsche was in contention. So too Frank Yu. So too Mokweng Sun. At that stage, a 2-time champion going for his 3rd consecutive crown. It's the number 22 Taiwan Top Speed Racing Ferrari 458 Challenge returns to the circuit. It's not doing much more than walking pace, so it still appears to have somewhat of a problem. So that's 2 of those cars of the 4 in that team that are out so far this race. And we're about 25 minutes down. Peter Lee was the winning driver, but also Mokweng Sun and Frank Yu were certainly in contention. In the end, Wang was eliminated in that very dramatic crash very early in the race that eliminated a number of drivers. That allowed Frank Yu through to 2nd in the championship. So currently the reigning number 2 in the GT Asia Series is Frank Yu, and he has just worked his way back into contention in this championship, and we will be looking from position 3, where the car sits right now, to improve on that as of course his teammate Richard Lyons, the Ulsterman from Ireland, jumps behind the wheel and finishes the second part of this race. Now, I think green flag's waving. So how many cars will come down pit lane? Now, here's a problem with this. Those cars can continue to be circulating quite quickly until they get to the pit entry line, but they're banked up behind the safety car, but no one has continued on. You could still, within the compulsory pit stop window, complete another lap or so, as a couple of these cars have done. In fact, the only one that appears to have continued around, there he is Rob Bell and Hiroshi Hamaguchi. Rob Bell, of course, will take over this car. So Hiroshi, who had a drama early in this race, lost about 20 seconds on the opening lap, has started to work his way back through the field, is going to take full advantage of this, because these cars are only just stopping now. He is effectively a comfortable race leader. Now, by the time he comes around and completes this lap, and these guys in front of him who have pitted now will have conducted their stop and rejoined, again, a minimum 75 seconds from the timing line at the pit entry to the timing line at the pit exit, he will have gained dramatic ground. I'm using that word a lot because there's been a lot of drama here this weekend at the Shanghai International Circuit. Of course, you saw quite graphically the contact that Jeffrey Lee made with the wall during the early stage of this race. Now here's Hiroshi Hamaguchi trying to negotiate one of the local China GT Cup cars, one of the Porsches. They've joined the field. There's a number of them this weekend. Unfortunately, contact between this car and one of the GT Cup BMWs during qualifying ended Rob Bell's run, but more drama for the local driver. His car caught fire in the sand trap. Now, nobody was injured in any of that. Unfortunately, the car's a little worse for wear, as we see Max Weiser leave the pits with a huge lead. That's some 8 or more seconds now over Richard Lyons. Now, that's with about 15 minutes left on the clock, of course, because the pit window closes with 15 minutes left in this race. We will see Richard Lyons do everything in his power to gain back the disadvantage he now has in position 2. But we're talking about how Frank Yu would work his way back into this championship. This is very important for the Craft Bamboo team. And even if Richard Lyons finishes 2nd, this is incredibly valuable points in the championship. Now, Max Weiser is the 5th driver, essentially. We talk about 2 driver cars with the teams. So I'm including Kitasoa and Mokweng Sun as one entry. And Frank Hughes 4th in that list of championship contenders. Max Wise is 5th, but unfortunately for him, even if he wins this race, which would be a great result for the team in their debut year, he will not earn enough points to put himself into contention for the title heading to Macau in 1 month's time. Now you can see how big the gap is there as they come down this long back straight, 267 kilometres an hour at the end of this straight, the Aston Martin, the V12. Similar pace, of course, with the 4.5 litre normally aspirated mid-mounted engined Ferrari 458, and of course the flat 6, that awesome 2.4 litre Porsche GT3R. So a variety of different power plants. Now further back you can see Jean-Claude Vernet has taken over from Gilles Vanelay, the two Frenchmen making their debut, on debut for the Absolute Racing Run Bentley Continental. That has a twin-turbo 4-litre V8 power plant. Very successful car so far in season 2014 in the Blancpain Series, with 2 wins for the factory team, of course run by M Sport, who prepare the Ford team in the World Rally Championship, so well versed in making race cars work. And we've seen that a number of times already this year around the world with the Bentley. Now, here's the 2 Clearwater team drivers again battling for position. That's Kitasoa, who shares with 2-time GT Asia Series champion Mokweng Sun in the chrome and Dayglow orange number 3 Ferrari 458, and behind him Matt Griffin, the Irishman who stepped in alongside car owner Richard Wee in the blue and chrome Clearwater Racing Ferrari 458. 2 of them battling over position, but of course it's only the number 3 car that's in championship contention. Only a couple of points off the championship points lead, so Kitasoa was well aware of that. He said to me before this race, I would really like to hand Weng Sun a podium finish and keep us in the championship hunt. I'd like to have the championship points lead outright heading to Macau in 1 month's time, so that when Monk's behind the wheel of that car, the 12-lap final, he's well and truly in the box seat to claim his 3rd championship crown. Now, interestingly, before this race, it was announced that in the team's championship, Clearwater Racing had won their 3rd title in 6 years. They've just become the 2014, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, in 5 years. I'm sorry, their 3rd championship, team's championship win in 5 years. So that's great result for Mokweng Sun, Richard Wee, Hiroshi Hamaguchi and the whole team at Clearwater Racing to have claimed that victory with, well, 2 races with this 2014 championship still to go. So it's a convoy. Will we see Matt Griffin make a move on Kitasoa? Now, if there's team orders, I'd expect no, because it's vital. Every point in this championship is going to be important to the total of Mokweng Sun and Kitasoa. Yes, they can drop 2 rounds of the championship, but already they can claim a DNF in the opening round of the series with a failure to finish during round 1 of the series back in May at Korea International Circuit. As Griffin's looking very racy, it looks like he wants to take that position away. He can drop 2 rounds. So the next worst round that Kitasoa and Mokweng Sun can drop is round number 10, the most recent round, Sepang, because we had a race yesterday where they carded strong points, but they don't want to drop the strong points, they want to drop their worst rounds. If they have a DNF, they can drop that round too, but of course then their rivals may in fact add to their overall tally and move further up the order. So it's a game of strategy, and you have to wonder whether the Clearwater Racing team, who again are teams champions this year, whether or not they will have laid out team orders before this race and said to the boys, right, we need to focus on maximum points for the number 3 car, but maybe he doesn't speak, I'm not sure. I was going to say he doesn't speak English, he certainly speaks Irish, but Matt Griffin has just taken position away down at turn 14, so one wonders whether in fact there are team orders at Clearwater Racing. The boys are allowed to go at it, and that is position number 3 now for Matt Griffin, and he looks to be opening up a bit of a lead over Kitasoa. Earlier in the weekend, I mean, the Clearwater team weren't quite at the pace, certainly, of the AF Core Spirit of Race Ferraris of Liu and Rizzo and Aguirre and Muzian. They weren't able to quite match the pace of that team, which is unusual with the experience that they have. And Kitasawa said he didn't feel 100% comfortable. They couldn't pinpoint why they weren't right on the money. Unfortunately, qualifying saw two fairly short sessions. In the pro drivers session, the qualifying session lasted just 7 minutes before Rob Bell made contact with one of the local GT Cup cars, and that brought the red flag out and brought the whole session to a close after only 7 minutes. So many of the drivers were on their quick laps. In fact, Matt Griffin was on a lap that was very close to pole. Kitasawa was on his fastest lap, and as the red flag came out, that negated those times and put both those drivers a little bit further down the order. In fact, looking at the starting order for this race, the number 12 car with Richard Wee, who'd qualified, started from position number 11. But Mok Weng Sun was only in position number 7, a little bit further back, 3.5 seconds back from where he was hoping to have been. So a number of the drivers really struggled with qualifying. Now, we were talking about, there's a bit of a mix-up there, I'll just clarify. We were talking about the pro drivers and their session being shortened to 7 minutes, but a 10-minute session even for the AM drivers, the gentleman drivers, was a very tough ask for them too. Now we're drawing down to the final stages of this race, and Max Weiser continues to punch out fast laps. He's into the 47s, which is very close to qualifying time. So too Richard Lyons. They've been trading fastest times. In fact, Lyons has just gone to 47.1, so he's set the fastest lap so far in this race. And he's gaining a little bit of ground. He's only up to about 6 seconds now off Max Weiser, so he's hauled in 2 seconds since the compulsory stop. But Weiser's clearly got plenty of pace in that NB team, Aston Martin. So still further back, Matt Griffin's in third now, and he's drawing away from Kitasawa in the number 3 Clearwater Racing Ferrari. But Dashen Zhang is still continuing to circulate strongly on his debut, in the JRM Porsche GT3R. Came recently out of Europe, the Farnbacher team, and they have shown that car to be pretty strong. They had a run here at Shanghai a couple of weeks ago in a local event, and really their first chance to turn a wheel in anger on the Yokohama controlled tyre wasn't until opening practice here on Thursday morning, and they were one of the top 2 quickest teams, which was a real surprise to the series regulars. We're only a couple of minutes away from the close of this race, and this would be a very, very welcome result for the NB team. It'd be nice to see Max Weiser and Kane Young take a win. It would be very popular. Now here's another one for position. Hiroshi Hamaguchi has come into pit lane and handed Rob Bell the car from well inside the top 10. Now they were running around about position 15 and 16. This is for position number 6. Jean-Carl Vernet is hauling Rob Bell in, but Rob Bell's not about to make the Frenchman's job easy. The car isn't quite doing the job that their Clearwater Racing McLaren did. Of course, we spoke earlier about that being eliminated during official practice on Thursday afternoon. A very, very big crash for Hiroshi Hamaguchi. This is the secondary car for the AII team from Taiwan. They're making their return to the series this weekend with the number 91, the number 93 McLaren MB412C, but this was their secondary car. It actually had a broken gearbox, so they put the gearbox from the number 23 Clearwater McLaren into the car and added another couple of parts that needed to be sorted before they could run the car. Qualified, unfortunately for Bell, contacted the local car, eliminated him from qualifying. He still managed to qualify inside the top 10. And Hiroshi started this race from rear of field. They had a drama at the start of the race. For about 20 seconds behind the field by the close of the opening lap. But here they are battling over position number 7 in this race. And that's a pretty solid result for a team that's had everything against them this weekend. Now, with about a lap or so to go based on the timeline, as Roy Glass starts to haul them in from behind. It may be that Vernet can't make his way past, but I don't know, based on the lap times that we're seeing from Rob Bell, whether or not that McLaren is at 100%. Certainly the factory driver, he's flying out of China this week to go and do more testing for the 2015 McLaren 650S, which is an upgrade on this car. Whether or not Bell is able to keep that rampaging Bentley Continental behind him all the way to the close of this race. Certainly he's doing a good job now. He's held him up for at least a lap, and it looks like Vernay's got plenty of pace. Very quick through the corners, good aero on the Bentley, but on the longer straights doesn't quite have the legs, certainly, of the Aston Martin. I think the Ferrari has probably got an edge on it too, but certainly through this complex of the race, 1, 2, 3, 4, a very, very fast car, and Vernay looks like he may, if he's going to make a move, it'll be in this part of the circuit. And there you go. This is what he did at the start of yesterday's race. Came from the third row and went into turn 1 in position 6, came out of turn 3 in position 1. Admitted that he'd done that at A1 when he drove for Team France in A1 GP in 2007 at this very circuit. He said, I couldn't believe it, Sean. Exactly the same thing was offered to me as I went into turn 1. He said the seas parted, there was a beautiful clear line, and as the other drivers battled for position, I just drove straight past them. And I was amazed to see that I could get through and achieve exactly the same thing I'd done here 7 years ago. Of course, they went on to finish second in the race yesterday behind the BBT Ferrari, which was eliminated after contact between those two cars in the opening lap of this race between Davide Rizzo and Gilles Vanelay. So, at the front, we see it's very, very close to the final stages of this race. Max Weiser is just punching out some solid laps. This is one of the best drives he's put in this year, and there we are, checkered flag time, lights flashing. That is a great victory to the NB team. Aston Martin second to Richard Lyons, and that will be third to Matt Griffin. Now, I've just been handed a note. There is some question about whether or not the first two cars in this field may have left pit lane quicker than their allocated time. Now, we'll find more out about that. We're going to be unable to update you on that before the end of this broadcast. But if you keep track of the GT Asia Series Facebook page and certainly the AFOS website, www.afos.com, we will be able to confirm the final results of this race. But certainly that will be a very popular victory for Max Weiser and Kane Young. And nice to see the team on their debut. Here they are. Kane Young, very, very worthy winner. Max Weiser, very happy. Of course, that is Richard Lyons, the Ulsterman, alongside him, driving the second round this year. Of course, also drove at Autopolis with Frank Yu in the Craft Bamboo. Frank Yu just disappears from the champagne bath. And Richard Wee and Matt Griffin position number 3. So a quick recap of the race results as we look at the start. You see the teams were rolling around twice. Unfortunately, the first start wasn't given. They weren't in position. Second time around, though, great run by Kane Young into turn 1. A little bit of close contact further back. A couple of drivers through the field, and then this amazing move which eliminated the winners from yesterday. Davide Rizzo, broken right rear suspension. It was game over for the BBT Ferrari. Then almost contact between the two Clearwater Racing teams. A dramatic move in the GTM class with the points leader coming to this round, Thomas Fjordbach, removed from this event. And then this big crash. You see contact between Jeffrey Lee and Mok Weng Sun. That is a very, very big crash. Fortunately, Jeffrey was able to walk away. And in the end, the results after the compulsory stop and the race wound down to its conclusion was Max Weiser and Kane Young in the NB team Aston Martin, second to Richard Lyons and Frank Yu in the identical Craft Bamboo Aston Martin, third to Matt Griffin and Richard Wee in the Clearwater Racing Ferrari, fourth to Keita Sarr and Mok Weng Sun in the number 3 Clearwater Racing Ferrari, and fifth to Chow Lee and Dasheng Zheng on debut in the JRM Porsche GT3R. Now it's off to Macau. We'll see you on the 14th to the 16th of November for the final round of the 2014 GT Asia Series.